Hi, everyone. Welcome to our open class, and I'm June. Today, we're going to talk about AP classes and also AP tests, and also we're going to answer the questions from the parents. And today, I very happy and glad to, announce like we invited Dr. Andrew Lawi to introduce more about the AP physics and some like the hard questions about a bit AP physics. Okay, welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, June, for that awesome welcome. I am very, very happy to be here on this Friday evening, Pacific time zone in California.
Mm-hmm.
So West Coast, but I'm so excited about the opportunity to work with 7EDU.
Okay,
And
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, let me introduce Andrew a little bit, okay?
Mhm.
So Dr. Andrew has been an educator for over 15 years, right? Serving as a middle and high school teachers and a math coach and a math department chair. And he is an expert in the mathematics and the science. And also he have taught AP chemistry, AP physics 1, AP calculus, AP psychology, so many APs, right? So he has worked in the distant education since 2008. So you're very familiar with the online teaching and how to help a student from the distant, right? Okay, welcome again. All right, so here is the questions from the parents that we collected, and we're gonna go through the first question, okay? So we noticed like some of the parents are very interested in your life, like your academic life, right? So they ask a question like, how is your life at a Columbia University? Would you like to share a little bit more about Columbia University?
Yes, I when I was planning on going to college, there were a few different options for me. I was accepted to Yale and Princeton, and decided to go to Columbia because one, it was closer to home,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm originally from New York. But to be concise, June, I loved those 4 years. They were challenging but rewarding. I got to meet a lot of people from different places, so there was a lot of diversity.
Mm-hmm.
But the core curriculum itself and just the requirements of literature, humanity, contemporary civilizations, there was just such a vast course offering
Mm-hmm.
that we had to take. They were mandatory classes, and it's opened up my mind and made me a better person. So I would
Okay.
strongly recommend Columbia.
Awesome. But I also heard like those kind of like top schools and they're very intensive and very
Hmm.
competitive. And
Hmm.
a lot of parents they ask like, oh, they really want to push their kids to get into the top schools, but meanwhile, on the other hand, they, kind of like worry about, the high pressure and also, the competitive atmosphere, affect their, children's like mental health or
Social, emotional.
yeah, what do you think about that? Do you feel like anything about that in your school?
We had obviously I had I saw some of my peers melt down under pressure.
Oh, really?
But
How
the
it look like
key,
usually?
huh?
What caused like problem?
I think not having a balance of academic and social, maybe not having a strong parental support system at
Hmm.
home, not a strong friend network. I think one of the things that allowed those of us who were successful, and my undergraduate class, my
Hmm.
freshman class was 980, so relatively small compared to many of the other Ivy League schools. But I think one of the things that made us successful, those of us who were, and were able to graduate on time with a great GPA, is that we created a friend network where we supported each other. We studied together. We encouraged each other. If we were practicing for exams, we'd get together at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and hammer away at some calculus. So it's
That's all.
ordinary differential equations we were getting together to study. So that's important, just having a strong friendship network and a strong parental support system.
I see. And also from the perspective of Columbia grade, right? So how do you think about academic atmosphere there? Are they gonna spend a lot of time study? So the
Oh,
academic atmosphere?
absolutely. Studying becomes your life when you're in that kind of school. high school was relatively easy for me. I got a straight 4.0 with very little effort because learning just came natural. And I got to Columbia and I realized very quickly that if I did not buckle down and put the work in, I was not going to be successful.
Okay.
And I think those challenges really make you a better person. It makes you disciplined. It makes you diligent. It develops your grit. You don't quit easily because you've been through some of the toughest years of probably your entire life.
I
So it
see.
makes you resilient.
So maybe we can tell the high school students, if you feel like right now all the workload is kind of heavy, wait until you go to college, right? So college is
Absolutely.
the start of the new life. Is not about it easier. It's always like, harder and harder. It's just
Yes.
like more and more challenge. Okay. So but get back to our point. Like, what are the benefits of taking APs in high schools?
Great question, June. I took a ton of AP classes in high school. By my senior year, I was only taking AP classes because I'd finished all the other requirements. The truth of the matter is, and I say this to my students when I work with them one-on-one for test prep, and they go, well, why do I have to take the SAT or the ACT? It's all these standardized tests. And my response is always, when you are a part of a competitive pool of students, you have to do everything in your power to separate yourself, to rise above the others, to make yourself look and like the best candidate that you can, because you really, without interviewing verbally, you are interviewing for a slot in some of the best schools nationwide. And, I'll go back to Columbia. We had my freshman class was 980. They had over 30,000 plus applicants that year.
Wow.
So that's a spit in the bucket when you think about the percentage of those admitted versus those who applied.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are that student, and this is really important, you have to do everything to diversify your portfolio. Take all the AP classes that you can. Take all the IB classes that you can. Volunteer, play a sport, interview.
Yeah, you name it, right? Okay.
Yes.
So, but when the students take AP, there's like kind of like struggle all the time. So they take hard AP, they can't get high score, or it's hard to balance. There's so many APs and so hard, a lot of things to memorize, right? So, what is suggestion about taking the APs?
Do I recommend it? Absolutely. And how do you balance that workload? I think is the question I'm hearing.
Yes.
It really is, going back to that grit. The student, you have to put the effort in and you have to make the sacrifice. There is no other way about it. So when your friends are out on a Saturday night at a party, we're going to the movies, you might need to do that extra 2-3 hours of studying because you are doing everything you can to be successful. So it's a sacrifice, but it's also about finding the support when you need it. And I think, a company like ours can offer students that additional layer of support so that they're not doing it by themselves. I did not come from a very affluent family, so I did not have, necessarily all the tutoring support that I needed. But many of my friends at Columbia who were the most successful had access to that and were able to get that extra layer of support.
I see. So you're basically like kind of like based on your hard working yourself, right? Okay. All right. So so can you give us example about like the APs? I know you take like AP Physics and AP Physics 1, Physics 2, Physics C. So which AP Physics you think is hardest?
I'd say C because there's a ton of calculus. And so you ask the kids, physics 1 is just algebra based. So if students have a pretty strong algebra foundation, algebra 1, algebra 2, trig, they'll do just fine. But most students shy away from physics C because unless you've taken calc, you're never gonna be successful at that. So I think that is the most challenging part of the curriculum. Yeah, it's just that it's
how hard it is. How hard is AP Physics C? Can you give us like one hard question, for example?
Yeah, I prepared a question. This is not by far any of the most difficult questions you would see on the test. But this is what I did was just I pulled an actual past exam questions, because when I work with students, I want to give them as much access to past exam questions as possible that they can see and familiarize themselves with the kind of rigor that's expected and how to approach the questions over time. So the more they see the questions and become familiar with the strategies, the better position they are. So this is one, deals with mechanics.
So we want to see attention, everybody. If your kids are here or you want to join, this question, maybe we can ask them to give some answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay. So yeah, you go ahead. So this is like a hard question, like represent the hard question level of the AP Physics C, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
I think if the student decide or they still try to figure out if they want to take AP Physics C or not, or which AP Physics they want to take. So this is a good chance for them to learn which part. And also they can know kind of like your teaching style.
yes, as I mentioned, the main difference between Physics 1 and C is that Physics C is you've got to have a strong calculus foundation. So it would be strongly recommended that you either take Calc BC ahead of taking Physics C or concurrently, so that you're getting the calculus while accessing the physics. Now, this is a big portion of the Physics C is mechanics. This is a mechanics question. This is the constructed response part. So kids have to show their work. They have to graphs. They have to show their work. There are some cases where they have to sketch out a diagram. This is one such case. And each question's worth 15 points. So it's a big portion. Multiple choice sections worth more, but this is comparative. So I think it's like a 60-40 split.
I see. I'm very interested in physics, but I was not able to get very high school when I was in high school. Okay. So could you please ask your student just to explain this question to me to see if I can understand or not?
Sure. Let's see if we, first of all, I see it there. We have a big audience, June. So is there any student who's currently taking C that would like to tackle this problem? And maybe you can explain part one.
Let's see. Okay, anyone in this open class one, you're currently taking the AP Physics C, and you can just type 1 in the chat box. You can type 1 in the chat box if your son, your daughter, or yourself is taking the AP Physics C, or you are going to take AP Physics C, or you are considering taking, AP Physics C in the future. You can just type 1 in the chat box. Apparently, let's see. No one take AP Physics so far. Okay. I feel like, because I heard a lot of students, also parents, they consult me. They say, hey, my son is trying to take AP Physics, and they were thinking about a 1 or 2 or C. Oh, I got 1 learning AP Physics right now. Okay, cool. So we're going to learn together with Dr. Lowy and Andrew. Could you please just go ahead and explain this question to see if I can figure out?
So the first thing this is the card has a mass M, and it's labeled for us, right? It's pulled along a level dynamic track as shown above. The force sensor is attached to the card and with a string and used to measure the horizontal force exerted on the card to the right. So there is a force that's pulling the card, correct? A motion sensor is used to measure the acceleration of the cart with positive direction toward the right. Friction is negligible. Friction is not negligible. This is key, right? Because whenever we have a problem that tells us friction is negligible, what they're essentially saying is that we don't have to take into account the force of friction, but this is not the case here. So what the first thing it's asking us is to draw a balance force diagram representing all the forces that are acting on the card, right? The different component forces that are acting on the card. Each force, and it's key, and I always tell students to annotate, each force must be represented by a distinct arrow starting on and pointing away from the dot. So who thinks they can, jump in and create the diagram for this?
You asked me?
No, just any.
Okay, let me.
I think Lou mentioned he was taking physics. So Lou, do you want to
Yeah, maybe Lou can try. Lou, do you want to try it? You can type your answer in it. Yes. Okay, so let's unmute you, okay? All right, I'm going to ask Lou to try. Excellent job. Huh?
Thank you, Lou.
You're so brave, huh? Okay, cool. So can you speak now? Yeah, Lou, you can speak now. Hello? Go ahead. We can hear you. Hello, Lou. Can you hear us? Okay. So I unmute Lou, and he would like to join this question and to give the answer.
Go ahead, Lou. So excited that you're participating.
Yeah, he's like thinking about what is the process? What is the process? So, in between, I want to ask you a question. So,
Sure.
in your AP Physics class, so what is like how it look like? Usually, like you want to ask a student to solve the problem by themselves, and then you find out where they make the wrong turn, or you directly give them explanation based on the question and the experiences.
It depends. I'm always about more participation and more greater engagement from kids. I think if I'm just lecturing at them, they may not be as engaged. Plus, I believe in the constructivist approach. Students have to make meaning for themselves. My responsibility is to be a guide on the side and to help them where they're faltering and give them some different ways to think about things. I'm constantly asking kids questions, constantly giving them the access to the tools so they could show their work on the screen, model their thinking, explain why they did what they did. The why is important. Yeah.
Yeah, and do you think it's easier or it's possible for them to prepare by themselves? Because one of the parents just to test me one question. Say, what are some AP Physics C reference book that you recommend?
I am a very big fan of the Barron's is a great one. Yeah, I'm thinking some of the ones that are on the cheaper end. Barron's would be one such that I would recommend. The other one that I would recommend is the Princeton Review. That would be my top choice. It's very comprehensive. Some practice exams goes through and gives kids an opportunity multiple times to review a concept. And there's a summative piece where kids can continuously check their understanding. So that would be my top choice if we're looking for something just as a practice book. And that's I usually recommend for students to not just wait till a month before the exam to start working through the practice book. You want to be working through that practice book at least 3 to 4 months before your exam date. So if your target date is May, you should be by January, you should be starting to do those practice exams, working through the practice book.
I see. Okay, I got Lou's answer. Okay, I think you can see it in the chat box. They say weight of the card pointing down and friction.
Yeah. So that's the gravitational force. We're gonna label that mg.
Force to the right.
Okay. He says
normal force pointing up.
The normal force is up. Good job.
And sinusoid force to the right.
I do have a question for those of you who are taking physics, though. What is the normal force? Let's finish this diagram first. So we've got the force of tension here, and we've got the force of friction here. And this is why this was important when they said friction is not negligible, right? That was key.
Cool. So is it right for Lou?
Yeah, absolutely. Good job, Lou. But what is the normal force? You guys want to tell me what that is?
Lou is working on it. All right, go ahead and explain to us. What is the normal force? Andrew, what is normal?
Oh, I thought you wanted Lou to. So it's the force.
I want to know the answer. Yeah.
It's called the support force, and it's exerted on an object in direct contact with a stable object. So that's what the And that would be what the normal force would be.
Well, you're gonna give a lot of example like questions to the students.
Would I give lots of questions? Oh,
Yes.
absolutely, yes. We'll be question heavy, as many AP Physics questions as we possibly could get through. What would shape or lessons each week.
Okay. Louis is a smart kid, and he used to be my student, so I know him. Okay, he's hiding here. All right, awesome, smart Lou. Okay, all right. So I would like to and share the screen. Okay.
There's a ton more to this question, by the way, guys. That was just the surface of it, but it goes more in depth.
I see. Okay, so one more question. We're gonna have some question from the parents, and one parent messaged me asking, so usually for the group class and a one-on-one, which kind of class fits AP Physics is kind of like, difficult courses? Yeah.
I think it depends on the individual student. When I make recommendations like that, I think about how badly is the student struggling. If the student's really, really struggling, I would always recommend a more focused, targeted program where he or she's working one-on-one with a tutor. If the kid just needs a little boost and is aiming for that 4 or 5 and just needs some more support, then I think a group class could be sufficient, where they're getting an opportunity to interact and learn from their peers. So it heavily depends on the students, where they're at in terms of ability. Two, some kids just flourish more in a private setting. They're maybe a little bit shy, not willing to participate in a larger class. And for that student, I would recommend a targeted one-to-one program.
I see. Thank you. Okay, so anyone have question, you can just either private message me or you can just post it to the group so we can see the question and we can answer. So both me and Dr. Lloyd can answer your questions. You can ask questions based on APs because AP test is coming. It's in May. And, a lot of parents and students, they're kind of like nervous because we know like each year AP only give you one chance for you to,
Yes,
right?
only one.
Yeah, if you miss it, and then you have to wait for the next year to take it again. And in the last open class, the parents asked me if they should retake the AP test. If they didn't get the full score in the first time, and should they just retake it the next year? And we suggest like no, because usually they have a lot of APs, and if you get like 4 and this year, and you don't want to retake it next year because next year you have a new subject to take, right? So because this is only one time, and we need you to seize the chance and just to make it. All right. So by the way, so most of students, they take AP Physics in the grade 10, some of them like grade 11, right? So what are your suggestion? Like they should take like later, or they should, do it like earlier?
So should they take the AP classes earlier?
In the grade 10, or they should take in grade 11? Because some students, they do have the option like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Earlier is better. Earlier, as many, I know with traditional American high schools, their curriculum tends to be very vast.
I see.
You have to get through Algebra 1, Algebra 2, trig, geometry in the math sequence. So technically, most kids won't be able to take calc till at least junior senior year, but I would recommend as many options as you have to double up even in your math, so you get to take more AP courses earlier. I would say by your junior year, things like AP psychology, AP statistics, those are a little easier. You could generally get those off the plate, and then get some more difficult, challenging ones like Calc BC, Physics C, Physics 1 in your junior/senior year.
I see. Okay. So here comes the question. So I finished Physics 1 last year. I'm in BC Calculus this year, and I want to take the AP test for the Physics C. How should I go about studying and connecting calculus to physics?
Lou, you've got most of the content down. What you're missing is making the connection with calc. And the way I would fill those gaps is to recommend that you do crack open that practice book, go through as many past exam questions as you can, so you can see where the calculus is coming in, where are your integrals, where your derivatives. That's one way to really begin to fill those gaps.
I see. And also, what if the school doesn't, really offer the physics C class? What is a student going to do?
We should offer.
They just study by themselves?
We should offer it. I would say if it's not offered through your school, there are many different virtual options like what we are offering. And some students can learn a lot of the concepts and ideas on their own and then use us as a supplement to get them through the material successfully.
I see. Okay, one more question come from Lily. Should they take both AP Physics 1 and AP Physics C, or just take only one?
Lily, it depends on your strength again. If you really have a strong foundation in algebra, go ahead and take Physics 1. If you want to sort of diversify your portfolio, though, Physics C, obviously colleges will look at Physics C a little bit more favorable because there's the calculus embedded. But if you really if you haven't taken Calc BC, or if you've taken it and you weren't really strong at it, then I would not recommend Physics C.
I see. So basically they can take both, or they can just choose one. Depends on their foundation and then
absolutely
on the learning ability, because the goal is you want to take AP as many as you can to show how strong you are in the academic field, right? But you don't want to show your weak point. If you take more AP and you got lower grade or lower GPA, that's not what we want. That's not what we're talking about here, right? All right. Okay. So one more question. If you have any question, you just let us know, or you can just leave us the email, and we will just reply to you. Okay. And our email is info@7edu.org, and I'll type in the chat box. And also, if you have any question regarding the AP Physics, you can just call us, and the phone number 408-216-9109. 9109. Okay. All right. And also, you can visit the website for the more information. Thank you so much, Dr. Andrew. And let's work on next time for the open class. And I might invite you again. Thank you so much for your time. Okay. And
it was a pleasure. Thank you. Bye, guys. It was nice meeting all of you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining our open class today. And we're going to meet each other, and every time, same time, Friday, 5:30, and the same Zoom link. And the next subject or next topic will be something different. And we will let you know soon, okay? Please follow us on the YouTube. And also, please, you can just join us on the Himalaya, that's the app. And you can join us for the open class. Usually we record it and share with you all, okay? 好，感谢大家参与今天的公开课。我们还是老时间，每周五的下午的5点半到6点的半个小时时间。我们的下一期会有不同的主题，我们会邀请更多的这个 professor， 还有学生，还有老师，还有各行各业的专业的这个朋友们，然后去分享不同专业的一个想法。那么接下来每期我们会有不同的专题，这个专题呢，我们都会 post 在我们的网站上，也会放到我们的微信群里。非常感谢大家参与，如果有任何的问题的话，可以来电话给我们。我们就下周五的同一时间5点半再见，拜拜。